Hey guys, welcome to a new video. Time to check out what I think are the best champions to carry with this patch for every role, plus a more upcoming pick as well. Remember, this has nothing to do with how popular they are. They're not going to be your favorite champions or whatever, just how well they can carry the struggle that is solo queue. So first up, my surprise pick for this patch was actually Heimerdinger. His damage, like his burst damage, is absolutely insane. It's unreal how much he can do in a very short space of time. I don't think many people play him at the moment, but since his rework, he's actually gotten much better. And one of the biggest reasons is because he's a lane bully. It doesn't matter whether you're top, whether you're mid, you're going to smash pretty much everybody in the lane phase. You put your turrets down, you land a grenade, and that's pretty much game over for anyone. He doesn't really fall off either, so he's a really good pick right now for solo queue. That's kind of just a general one to start this video off, but the first role we're going to focus on is the jungle, and number one is going to be Elise. She is by far the best ganking jungler you can play at the moment. She has the damage, she has the crowd control, she can actually get through the jungle pretty quickly as well. This is one of the biggest things. Her clear speed and how healthy she is in the jungle is actually a massive deal when it comes to ganking, because not only she can enter like a gank at full health, but she can do it much faster than everybody else. When you pair that with her high burst damage even early into the game, but especially once she gets a few items and some penetration, like it's actually crazy how much work she can do. Her early phase of the game is definitely her most important. She has a 60% win rate early from snowballing a game, basically ganking the same people over and over, getting too much damage for anyone to handle and kind of ending the game from there. A lot of it is also coming down to how good she is versus other carry junglers. Her cocoon burst rotation for a 1v1 is insane. She locks them in place, she then uses her W, her Q, and goes into a spider form. She's basically using like 5 abilities in a very short space of time. Overall, I'm going to say she's the best ganker in the game, but also she is magic damage, right? Which is cool because it's like we have a meta of bruiser top laners at the moment and high damage AD carries, so we do need some magic damage coming from somewhere. Number 2 is a bit of a surprise, but Jarvan I think is the second best ganking jungler we have at the moment, and kind of an AD version of Elise, I guess. His E and Q combo though is why he's so good at ganking. His clear is not as good, but his ganks basically guarantee a flash or a kill, I think. Like you go in, you EQ someone, as long as you're actually going to hit it, they either have to flash or they're basically going to die to your damage and the follow-up from your laner. That damage is also insane. Not only early, which is pretty strong because of your Q and your auto, your passive at least, like, but it's also mid-game where you can pretty much one-shot somebody. If you manage to get onto someone with your E and Q and actually hit it and not just use it as a gap closer, plus your ultimate and then your passive, you're probably going to one-shot them just in that rotation. Shielding support's not being as good this patch as well means we can do that a bit easier. They're not going to survive from a Lulu or something like that. And also mid laners are the perfect targets as well as AD carries. Your ultimate is going to make this even easier. You can't really mess that up, I guess. You press R on somebody and it does the work for you. And you actually hammer Elise in, which is a very big thing when he's so popular. Overall, you are a brilliant ganker. I think you have insane damage, very easy to play, but also high impact. You can solo carry with the lead because of his damage and his engage. My upcoming pick for the jungle is Nunu. So we've replaced Ivan as kind of the new supportive jungler actually, who cannot be killed. Armpen kind of sucks ass now, so tanks are a little bit better anyway, but we have Locket and the Gargoyle Stone Plate, which is overpowered together. It's a massive team-wide shield, and Nunu can abuse it big time. Moving on to our second role, the mid lane. Malzahar is still the best mid, even after the nerfs in my opinion. It's just how easy it is to play and actually to win with, more importantly. If you think about Syndra, right, you have to worry about not getting caught, you have to prep your balls before you use your ultimate, you have to hit your long range stun, but with Malzahar, you literally have to press R. That is it. Talk about getting out-skilled by Syndra by pressing R. Like, she has to do a little bit of work before. Malzahar really doesn't, and they put so much damage onto that ultimate now. Your lane phase is better because you're killing these squishy targets much easier. That is legitimately all you have to do to win a game as Malzahar as well. You flash R somebody, you kill them, and you're going to get free towers or a free Baron or just like win a team fight from that. Basically, you have the damage from a normal mid laner right now, which is really cool, but you also have the crowd control, and you are a team player, I guess, like a team pick. You control the pace of the game, and you're able to engage for your team. Overall, you are a very high damage mid laner, but a very well-rounded one. Like, you're safe with your passive, so they can't really gank you. You have crowd control, which is a silence and also a lockdown from your ultimate. You have a better lane phase after the changes, and still very good later. Now, number 2, Orianna, best out of all the other meta mids, I guess, in my opinion. She's safe, but she's very high damage. Your lane phase is actually pretty overpowered. Like, you have a really high win rate early into the game, and I think that's partly why she is so good. You can bully people with auto attacks with your passive. You have your Q and W, which is a very easy way to trade, but it's also hard to dodge. It's quite long range, and you have your ultimate to finish them. What I'm trying to say is it's not hard to 1v1 somebody, but you're also very good mid to late game, so you don't really fall off at any point in the game. You're pretty safe with your high range in team fights as well, especially. You can help your team out. You have this massive AoE, which can be a game game changer, so you're always going to have high impact. Overall, you are a very safe pick. You can pick this into any game, into any matchup, and you'll be fine, but you destroy most lanes at the moment. You can get this lead, but you can also use it for the entire game, which is really good. You have good synergy with other meta picks. You help keep them alive while carrying yourself as well. My upcoming one is going to be Karthus. So he has been good for a little while, but this patch definitely one to watch out for. His matchups are decent. Games are going a bit longer, so he can scale, but he's also not bad in the lane phase. This patch in particular, though, why I'm mentioning him is because shielding support, so like think Karma and Lulu, they're not as good, right? Redemption isn't as good either. Neither is Locket, and all those things cock-blocked him in team fights. So without him gone, he's going to be better. I'm actually going to put support third in this video for once, not last. First one, number one, is going to be Blitzcrank. If you look at this graphic right here, I hope my editor remembers to put this in. This is the reason Lulu and Karma are pretty crap this patch. We have this monster lane champion who can feed his AD carry and set the enemy bot lane behind massively. Both the AD carry and support. It isn't just focusing on the AD carry being behind, right? The supports are very item reliant, or a lot of them are at the moment if they are the healing and shielding ones. They need their redemption, they need their ardent sensor, otherwise they're not really going to be able to do anything. It's a little bit weird, but he has a higher win rate mid game actually, so he like gets these picks to start fights, he has his real playmaking and stuff like that, and it's better because damage is in the meta. This is for two reasons. So if you have full damage on your team, it means when you hook somebody, you can actually kill them very fast, right? The other side of this though is because the enemy team is going to be full damage as well, any target you hook is actually going to die. It's not like hooking a tank or an Alistar or something that is going to be useless. Overall, the meta is actually perfect for Blitzcrank. You crap on the meta picks, you shut them down, and you can run around and have a huge impact on immobile mid laners as well. You still have decent items to stay relevant as well. Number two, similar story as well, is Thresh. Not quite as hard counter to like Lulu and stuff, but he's also got this defensive aspect, which is really good. He has more impact mid game, really. He sets things up, he can engage for his teams, and often teams are going to lack that now. Like, you've got to remember, tanks normally are the engage, right? If we have a Bruiser top lane, we have Bruiser in the jungle or an AP champion in the jungle, you don't really have that solid, reliable way to engage a fight. Also with Thresh, you can be aggressive, but you can also be defensive, right? You have both of these options, and your itemization helps out as well with Locket and a redemption. If you think about it, like his Q can hook to engage, or it can peel defensively, your W can save somebody, your E can flay somebody in or out, your ultimate can be used to stop someone escaping or to stop them getting onto your AD carry. What I mean is you're very well rounded, I guess, more well rounded than Blitzcrank for sure. And because of that, you don't keep the AD carry or support down as much, but you're still a really good counter to the meta. For my upcoming support, about the only one not getting screwed by these two is Janna right now. Well, like for the defensive ones not getting screwed anyway. You have this shield and heal, right, to keep somebody alive, but you also have a knockback with your ultimate and a knock up with your Q to buy some time. The difference is you are the master of disengage. You're not just keeping somebody alive, you're actually making sure that they cannot engage onto you, and you're pushing them away to give your AD carry or yourself some distance. So moving on to AD carry, Twitch is still overpowered. He's my number one. There must be like a new skin or something coming out soon, I guess, because he's been overpowered for ages and there's no nerfs. Draven is the only AD who is actually able to beat Twitch at the moment, and that is because he pummels him so hard in the lane phase and he just can't recover. With his Q and his ultimate and Blade the Rune King especially, you actually have good burst damage for an AD carry, but you also have this range with your ult and your crits and your poison and stuff for team fights. It's very hard to catch a Twitch if you think about it because of your stealth. Like, you can do two jobs in a team fight, right? You can either sit at the back and kill tanks like a normal person and just use it for attack speed, or you can be a bit more sneaky and kind of get round to the edge of a fight. You bypass the front line, the bruisers, and you go to the back line and kind of assassinate. This is one of the biggest things, okay? He's so risk-free, about as risk-free in AD carry as you can get. You do not need to get ahead in the game. You can even get behind, but you're going to come back with just a few items. If the game goes late, you stand a really good chance to actually carry his Twitch because you can be hitting everybody with massive AoE crits. Now, number two, back in here after the Dorant Shield nerfs, is Caitlyn. It means she can go a bit more aggressive again and actually punish people rather than just them sustaining up with the two pots and the passive. Also, we have these new supports like Blitzcrank and Thresh and stuff, more aggressive ones, I guess. Her range is going to keep her safe against them, but her trap is so overpowered in fights with them. The old Caitlyn before the kind of semi-rework was very bad in all-in fights, remember? You just wanted to kind of stay at range and poke over and over. You didn't really have this trap and Q headshot system. The new Caitlyn, though, her trap does a ton of damage, and you can place it under any champion who has a bit of crowd control. If Blitzcrank cooks them in and fists them upwards, you just put a trap underneath and you get some guaranteed damage. Her Q is going to do full damage to that trap target, which is even stronger, and then she can net somebody for another headshot. Obviously, that is all while she's overpowered late game as well. Like, she's never actually got a weak phase in the game, in my opinion. Like, she's strong early. I guess mid game is a bit weaker in comparison, but it's not that bad. Her late game is insane. You cannot go wrong with picking Caitlyn, basically. Like, she's super safe. There is no bad matchup, really. You have a chance to win lane hard, but it doesn't matter because your late game is so good. Plus, you're very safe with your neps and your traps. So my upcoming one is going to be Draven, and as I said at the start of the patch in a video, you can even make a case for this guy being the best AD right now, I think, actually, because he wins pretty much every matchup. Your damage is through the roof, you can out-trade and out-burst people, you shut down everyone, and aggressive supports feed you more gold, which is really good. You have like more chance to snowball. You're actually very strong at the moment. Now finally, moving on to top lane, last of all, hasn't really changed that much, but Riven has got a bit stronger, I think. Reason number one is because she does us all a favor and beats up Yasuo. Death Dance is also really good on her. We have like really good healing with the rest of her kit and stuff because her abilities are going to be doing damage. It's a better duelist because of that. The bleed damage as well, you can definitely out heal. Plus your ultimate is massively helping. When you do increased damage with your ultimate and stuff, like you're actually life stealing for a ton of that, which means she doesn't really die. The build is the biggest thing. It's pretty much perfect. That's the real reason why she's overpowered right now, in my opinion. If she gets ahead, the enemy team is going to have a pretty hard game, like because her team fight is good, but so is her 1v1. So there's no real area for you to exploit, if that makes sense. Overall, I think she's probably one of the most well-rounded champions at the moment. She can do everything well, and there's no real cost or whatever either. There's no real downside or something to actually use against her. Number two is a bit of a worse version, I guess. Legit like a mini Riven, actually, but one who's better against tanks and worse versus carry targets. The build is the same style, actually. Double lifesteal, though, with Fiora more than anything, so getting a Hydra into a Death Stance later, and her ultimate together actually makes that really overpowered. You have double lifesteal, you have the healing from the vital procs, you have the healing from the ultimate. Like, how do you ever die when you have that much lifesteal? Another option, though, is Trinity Force. For non-tank or like one-tank comps and stuff, it's actually very good. You have more mobility, and the sheen damage is insane. Option-wise, you can split push if you're ahead. You can 1v1 anybody else, push towers, dive, and stuff like that, but you can also teamfight pretty well with your ultimate. Surprisingly, you are good in lane for a late game champion if you can play her, which makes her very scary when she scales so well with her items and actually becomes a monster. I do think you have like a mediocre mid game, but you have a really good early and late, which is really what matters in this current meta. So if you get ahead, you're hard to stop because you're slippery and you have a lot of damage, and you need more than one person to stop you, so you free up a lot for your team. My upcoming one is Pantheon. I know I have a bit of a Pantheon fetish, but basically you counter the carry picks, so Fiora and Riven and stuff. That's why he's better. He also doesn't fall off as hard as he used to, but still a little bit, I guess. He's just so good early game, and his roams are beasts with his ultimate. Basically, he's like a Kled, but more aggressive, and he snowballs a bit harder. So that wraps up my best in each role for this patch. Let me know if you agree or not in the comments, but for now, I'll leave you with the robots.